Problem 14-6, calculating federal income tax and completing an 8-column worksheet for a merchandising business. First of all, it says to extend all amounts except federal income tax expense to the appropriate income statement or balance sheet columns. Do not total the columns. Okay, so we will, let me make this a little bit bigger. Remember, the balance sheet has assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So we will just go through and from cash down to dividends will be listed in the balance sheet. You just move the amounts over. I'm not going to take a lot of time to do this because you can do this on your own. And you have 300, 14, 7, 10, 98. Now this one, you need to add those two together. Because you have two credits. So 498.59 plus 1988, 2486.59. And it's a credit. Okay, the next one, you have merchandise inventory. It's a debit, and this is a credit. So you're going to have to subtract. So we would take the 236, 314.63, and subtract the 95.48.25. So 226,766.38 will be our balance here, debit side, because your debit is bigger. So I'll let you go through and fill that out. Remember to subtract those three. These two are credits, so you will add. You'll add those two. Federal income tax payment we'll do in a minute. You get down to income summary, and you also move them over. Debit, you put as a debit. Credit, you put as a credit. 843, 536, 68. All right. So you'll go through and do that. Remember that these, even though they look like they're credits, because they're kind of on the credit side, like the depreciation expense, should be a debit. Just remember to do that. That's a real common mistake. When you're done, you're going to total up these two columns and come up with an answer. And that answer, you have these two columns. You will come up with an answer, and then you will put them down here, your totals down here, because this is how you go to figure out your tax. Let me show you. I'll show you the answer. So when you come down here, you add up those columns. This is what you will come up with. The 857 will be your income statement credit column, and that is before you've done you have to figure out your federal income tax adjustment. Your total income statement column debit is this, and so this is your net income before you figure out your income tax. You bring them down here. These are the percentages you will use. The first 50,000 is taxed at 15%. The next 25 is taxed at 25%. The next 25 is taxed at 34%. And then you put your net income before federal income tax. You'll put it here. Subtract it from 100,000, and this is the amount you'll get. And if you had 300,000, then it would be, of course, 279. Okay. So you'll take this amount times 39% to give you your 30,000. You add all these up, and this is your total federal income tax. To find out what your actual amount is, then you take the 53. I'm going to put that in there. 53, 161.91, and then I'm going to hide the answer. And you would come down after you find that amount. You do this information down here just like I showed you. You will subtract it from what you have here, 48,000, and that gives you 5161.91. So that is going to be your adjusting entry. So you would put it here, and you would put it up here in your federal income tax payable, Did I do it right? 5161.91. I was afraid I was wrong. And then it would also come over here, and then you would move it down here. It would end up being, you'd add them together. So 53,161.91 would go here. Then you would add the columns up again to come up with your new totals. Remember that you're going to subtract your smaller number, which will be your expenses, because you do have a net income here. You'll subtract this from that to get your net income, and this number and this number will be the same. Remember the top four, 1, 2, 3, 4, they do not equal at first. You have to add the net income, find the net income, and then add it to the two sides, and then bring down your 4, and it will equal. Let me show you the answer again, just so you can see how they brought everything over. They brought these over. See, there's your income tax. Here's your expenses, income. See how they added the net income on there? But it is different. Whoops, sorry. It is different than what you did at first. So that is how you figure out the net income before federal income tax, and then actually how to figure out the federal income tax. It's a little complicated, but hopefully you can get through this. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask. Thanks.